Okay. Welcome back to Attack on Titan anime review, episode number 36. This I'm reviewing just the newest episode of the anime, which is called Brave Volunteers. Now, this one takes from the entirety of chapter 106 and like 9 pages from chapter 107, which, not surprising, the chapter is really freaking long. I remember reviewing this, I think it was about 3 years ago, I think I reviewed this chapter 107. And this chapter was really long. Like, this was like 110 pages long. It was by far the longest chapter of the entire series. Not surprising, they only adapted like a partially adapted for this episode. Now, the opening bit is a bit original. There's actually also an original scene in this episode, which is not actually in the manga. No. And also, they actually repeat the ending of the chapter. I'm not really sure why, but they do. It's kind of weird what they do with this episode. Okay. Yeah. So you probably think... Now, they do cut out one small little bit here, which... I'm like, really? I'm not really sure why they cut this bit out for, but they did. It's mostly like cut the present. Most of this episode, I'd say about half of it is basically set in the past, per se. Though it does kind of explain why a certain character shows up in the very next chapter, and basically why they're here. It's good, basically, character work. Thing starts off basically jumping back in time 3 years prior to present day, which means we're like, yeah, this is something I thought was quite interesting, though, about the first half of this arc, was that we have a lot of flashbacks to pretty much during the 4-year time skip, mostly put just going back 3 years. And we're kind of mostly exploring exactly what the heck happened during this time skip. From look of it, looks like Eren still looks the same, except he's clean shaven. And with the exception of him, mostly everybody else looks pretty much the same, which is all not surprising. Armin surprisingly has not cut his hair yet. Yeah, him and Mikasa have not cut their hair yet, so they're perfectly the same, except I think Mikasa looks like she's a bit taller. And though, in a way, she basically has put her mask back on that she lost when she was in prison for about a month. Yeah, when she was basically, when she just obeyed orders. So things starts off, basically, we see people from Marley see, like, someone from the... They're basically trying to pick up the war unit from a year prior. Basically, Reiner's group. So, they're attacked by the Attack Titan, which basically, all Eren does is pick the ship up, bring it inland, I'd say about a mile, put the ship down, and there's Hanj, like, hi, I'm Hanj, can you join us for some tea, fellow Marley, people from Marley? And the guy in charge like, no, we're not drinking your pig pee. He says pig, P-I-S-S. I'm not really saying what it is because... Yeah, and then he gets shot by a woman named Yina. He says, oh, Hanj, I'll take it. I'll take your invitation. I humbly accept. And, of course, some of the Marley soldiers are turned again, are basically... They can't basically have a mutiny here. Yes, and it turns out this woman, who's in charge, is part of this group known as the anti-Marleyan regime. And she reveals basically how Marley is advanced. It also gives the reason why Marley is not attacking their country. The reason? Because they have the whole frickin' planet against them. All the countries allied against them. They managed to defeat one, actually, currently in the particular war. Yep. Yeah. Now, Eren is still at home. He has not gone out of this little wandering thing that he does beyond the sea. Yeah, he hasn't done that yet. They actually, in the manga, don't really explain when in the world he does it. It just at some point he had done it. Yes, and there's also been a fan theory rolling around the past couple years that the reason why Mikasa and Eren don't, let's say, get as long as they once did, there's a rumor they had a child together and the child died. Yeah, that's a rumor. The writer himself has never confirmed the rumor. It's just a theory people have. I don't really apply to it very much, unless, of course, something the writer himself came up with. But if it's a fan came up with this, that's interesting, to say the least. I could explain why Mikasa acts the way she does toward Eren. But I personally wouldn't mind it at all if they had a child. But as long as a child didn't die, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, because Mika says had a thing for Eren for years in the series. Like, apparently she fell in love with him when she first moved into... Like, when he first rescued her from kidnappers. Yeah, and then she developed this massive six-pack. Which, here's the thing, the anime has never shown the six-pack that she has. They show it in one of the OVAs. Which, damn, she is ripped. Almost like a big freaking, like, MMA fighter. So, yeah, they could, but they're basically busy with everything. So that's the reason why. And then, over the course, it's shown that they did this little strategy of, oh, let's have the Marley volunteers bring in a bunch of Marleyans, like bring the second fleet, and they get captured, and then they pretty much gives them their technology, like trains, which Hodge is drooling all over it like usual. Leva's like, just calm down. We'll get the technology, no problem. And it's a great bit. And then we see Eren at a rifle range. Yes, at a freaking rifle range. Not the ones you see currently. If anybody has ever been to a rifle range, I have. Normally these rifle ranges, the one I've been to, are basically like a series of seats where you sit down and you have a bolt-action rifle in front of you, and you fire about 6 shots, and once you once you fire, it's like one shot. Everything fire a shot, you take the bullet, you basically open it and the thing to discharge. Sometimes one time basically I did this, the bullet casing up on the floor of the thing I was in, and basically the bullets are only this big. They're not huge. They're basically about this big, and you have to fire at a target. I was okay at it. I wasn't like an expert marksman at it. But yeah, Eren is using a bolt-action rifle. Yeah, it's referred to as that because of the action use. Basically, you pull like this, you pull it up like this, and you pull it back, put the bullet in, and then pull the thing forward, pull it down. The bolt is simply put kind of like a bolt you put on a door. That's why it's called a bolt-action rifle. And that's what Eren is using here, a bolt-action rifle, where he's firing it off with a series of targets. Now, it's not paper targets like the one I used. He used pretty much what some people use like a makeshift version of a rifle range, simply using basically glass or cans, basically shooting these things off, basically. And if you're good at it, basically, if you hit the target, hit this thing, you're a good marksman. That's the whole point of this stuff. And he talks about basically about the Marleyans. It's definitely a good scene. And it's great, though, the anime basically put this in. Now, there is an anime original scene here. A complete anime original scene. Where you have, basically, we have a similar scene we had at the end of the previous season where we had this big meeting of various people and talk about Zeke's plan that he has. That his basically theory. And Eren speaks up. Now you're probably thinking, wait, they can understand what the heck he's saying, even though he's speaking in a normal voice, yet they can understand perfectly fine. I thought this is kind of weird. Like, normally he'd be shouting or at least speak with a, let's say, a speaker's voice. Here he's speaking like he's having a conversation with somebody. A very private conversation. Yet everybody can hear him perfectly fine. And he basically reveals that what a lot of Zeke's saying is true. And the thing is, he asks, like, why'd you assume it? Because he says this. Because I was worried about Astoria's safety. And from what I can tell, Astoria basically didn't mind at all. She's not all that surprised because they're close friends. So I'm not surprised he would basically feel that way about her. I don't think Eren's in love with Astoria. It's never been confirmed exactly if he's in love with anybody in the series. I mean, it's hints at that he has a thing for Mikasa or Annie. Astoria, that would be something. I think he sees her as like a little sister. I don't think he sees her as basically a potential girlfriend, whatever. Though you could have basically happened to her in the current timeline where she got pregnant by some unknown person. It's possible this could have been Eren. They don't really say, because Astoria basically post time skip has only shown up twice. Yes, freaking twice. Once when she feels she was pregnant, and next time we see her, she's giving birth. Yep. And despite some in the military is sort of against it, but they accept Zeke's plan, and basically then we cut back to present day. Now, this is actually sort of bit where they present the manga. It's the same scene, except that they did this also I've seen for this series, where they take this image and basically flip it around to where in the manga you have Levi on the left and you have Zeke on the right. In the anime, Zeke is on the left and Levi is on the right. Now, my guess is that they took this scene from the manga, this panel, and just flipped it around. It doesn't really affect much of anything at all. Not really, no. Not what I can tell anyways. I mean, I watched this thing on Funimation streaming service because, well, they have the damn thing. And you just look out the window, like, we're taking you to a nice, fancy hotel. And they get to the hotel, and it's a forest. And he's like, really? This is my hotel? And Levi's like, you got a problem with this place? I'm sure Levi's like, you feel perfect at home with this. Which I found to be so hilarious. And the scene that kept repeating here, it is a couple times in the episode, where it looks like we see Aaron looks like he's bathing himself, basically washing his hair. And also he's breathing very heavily. Well, it looks like it's cold in the cell. Basically, you see his breath. And we also see Gabby and Falco in a cell that's nearby. And Gabby's doing this. Like she really wants to kill him. Because basically he killed her friend, Sophia. And the last little bit of this episode, it deals mostly with Sasha. In the way we do see a flashback with her. Where she tries one of the volunteers cooking, Nico. And she loves his cooking. And basically cooks like lobster, what looks like to be like pasta, and all this other great food. And then we cut to present day where he is visiting her grave, though one of the militaries beat the crap out of him. And look up another one basically who's nearby, tells him to stop doing that. And then he speaks to Sasha's father. He was seen. This is actually the first time he's seen in the anime since season 2. Yes. Not since his one episode appearance back in season 2 you was seen. And it's like, he's basically meeting like Connie. And Mika says like, were you my daughter's friends? And they're like, yes. Now he does speak to her after he basically finishes doing his little grieving process. So he mentions him that your daughter loved my cooking. And it would be an honor for you to try my cooking. He's like, okay, on the house? He's like, yep. I mean, it's hinted at basically here. I mean, yeah, it's been hinted at somewhat here and there. Like Connie may have had a thing for Sasha, and this guy here, Nikita, he may have had a thing for Sasha as well. I mean, she was a lovely woman. Would it be surprising if she had 2 guys falling for her? Aaron, not really. No, I think the only person she saw as her best friend is probably Mikasa. Mikasa is probably her closest thing she had to a best friend in the series. And the thing is, in the anime and the manga, they don't really interact a lot very much. It's possible they had a lot more interaction during the time skip. Yeah. And, well, the episode ends with Aaron staring in a mirror. Yep, and that was the end of basically, like, for 106, they put the 9 pages from chapter 107 before this. Yep. But this was definitely a great episode, and, excuse me, I can't wait for the anime to explore more of the time skip stuff, because it's quite interesting to say the least. Especially seeing that one of the people we did see in the Marley arc does appear in the time skip. And she has a close connection to Mikasa. Yep. Now, I did check online about the news of the manga. Now, as far as I can tell, it has been released, per se. But there's not been an English translation of it just yet. I'll probably get a chance to view it presumably next week, per se. That's probably when I'll get a chance to view it. Yep. But yeah, that's a particular view. Next view is a comic corner that I was going to do yesterday, but I ran out of time because it was almost 11 o'clock by the time I finally got to it. But today, yeah, I get a chance to do it, okay? So, see you next video. Bye.